Good morning, everybody. Professor Lavak and Juliet, and thank you to CIECT and Caroline for inviting me to speak. I am a dentist in the dentistry faculty, obviously, and I teach the postgraduate students research in the research and methodologies module. And I think it's important that academics who teach research need to know how to use ChatGPT or any forms of AI in their teaching practice. I'm not a teaching and learning expert, and I'm certainly not a ChatGPT expert. I teach research, and I have an interest in ChatGPT. So today we're going to be talking about briefly what ChatGPT is, what is a prompt, where is it allowed, the uses in research, possible harms, and staying ahead. So what is ChatGPT? ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and it's a name given to a family of natural language models, and it's been developed by OpenAI. So just like humans need language to communicate, computers also uses large language models to communicate effectively with humans. So ChatGPT absorbs a lot of information, like from text, from articles, from videos, from photos, and then if you ask it a specific question, it will give you a particular answer. The important thing is, what kind of question are you going to be asking? And this is where we need to ask a prompt. So what is a prompt? A prompt, you ask a question based on the tone, and I'm sure all of you know, most of you know this already. For the audience that don't know how to ask a prompt, so you would list your tone, if it's an academic tone or a casual tone, if you wanted to act as a particular expert or critic. Let me just highlight. If you wanted to act, if you can give it examples and say, like as in example, like in this case, you can change the language of the output. You can also use it for references. Like somebody said in the chat box that ChatGPT 4 has better references compared to ChatGPT 3. However, I wouldn't really use the existing ChatGPT for citations necessarily. I'll show you a different way to do that. So where is it allowed? ChatGPT is allowed in the countries that's highlighted in red. And as you can see, in Africa, we have difficulty of access to ChatGPT. It's been banned in certain countries, but I think in Africa particularly, due to internet accessibility, cost, and speed, it's not really readily available there as well, which is a concern because it is quite a resourceful tool. So how do we can use it in research? According to the United Nations, which I'm going to be talking about next, they have highlighted possible uses of ChatGPT in the research process. This is the document that they released, and we're going to go through each of these things slightly, not into much detail. But this is a nice tool that I found. It's called Future Tools. And what it does is that you can highlight it'll find articles based on what you're interested in. So in plagiarism, you can ask if it was free or freemium or paid. What's nice about this is, what's shocking about this is that in July, there were 1,902 AI tools available. But in May of this year, there were 1,400 AI tools. So 500 tools were developed in the last 2 months. It's quite shocking. So we need to be keeping abreast of what's happening out there. So we have AI tool, ChatGPT or AI can be used in research. Like somebody has mentioned before, in case studies, you can ask it to create ideas for you as well. I've been involved in a systematic review, and we were a group of researchers wanting to do a systematic review, and we could not find a topic. So here I've got 5 researchers, and we're sitting there thinking about how are we going to get a topic. And eventually we found a topic. But 2 weeks later, I found ChatGPT, and I was like, hey, ChatGPT, I'm interested in doing a topic on this condition in children called molar incisor hypomineralization, and I'd like to run a systematic review. Can you highlight 10 topics that have not been covered that have not been published before? And it gave me 10 topics, 2 of which were actually quite reasonable. And I was quite shocked by that. And I was like, if only I'd known about this, I would have introduced that to my research group. Another idea generation was for my students, because I run the research methodologies module. They had to do a topic on an ethics assignment, and so I said, if you don't have access to an ethics assignment or ethics case that you can think of, this is a type of prompt that you can use, which you can put into ChatGPT. I do not want you to copy and paste. I want you to acknowledge ChatGPT as the person that, as the tool that gave, not person, oops, as the tool that gave you the idea for your case study. And I found that very helpful for them. I also used it. I run another biostatistical module. I'm also a biostatistician, so I run a biostatistical module at a sister university, and they also needed. I had an anesthetist who was doing the biostatistics course, and then he needed a case study as well. And I also gave him a prompt to use in ChatGPT. AI can be used for translation. This is a French article, and this is the same article done in English. And I used this by uploading the document into Google Translate. Can you believe it? Article summaries, like Tanil mentioned before, you can summarize articles. My favorite one is TLDR this, which is too long, didn't read this. That is exactly what it stands for. And what I liked about Scholarly was that it produced, like one of the previous speakers spoke about, producing flashcards, which helps you to memorize the topic. So you upload a PDF and then you create flashcards based on that PDF. It can also be used for literature reviews. So Tanil did mention about Elicit. I love Elicit. What I did was we had a systematic review topic, and I think I'm really good at searching for articles. I actually think I'm quite trained quite well in searching for articles. However, Elicit proved me wrong, unfortunately. We finished doing all our searches, and then I went to Elicit and said, just put in your topic into Elicit, and I found about 6 new articles in Elicit, and that it was an African study, so 6 articles is a lot, and it just shows that how I wasn't good enough. But what Elicit does is that it also extracts all the data for you. So your abstract summary, your intervention, your outcomes, the number of participants. It will extract out stuff like the age, the gender, and then you can export all of this as an Excel spreadsheet, and you can use that in your systematic review. If only this and Covidence married, it would make systematic reviews so much more easier. The other thing that I like about this is that if you click on the article itself, it will critique the article, and it will find other articles that have critiqued this particular article. So it helps you when it comes up to you writing up your discussion. You can say, okay, this one said that, and that one said that, and it summarizes all of them nicely for you. Then we have Perplexity, which will give you an answer based on 6 articles if you put in the same questions. I've asked Perplexity, Consensus, and Elicit the same question, and in Consensus it summarizes the article based on what your research question was. As we all know, that Paper, Pal, and Grammarly can be used to enhance your writing skills. Another AI that I like is Jane, Journal Author Name Estimator. So you go to the website is at the bottom there. And if you've written a manuscript, and we all struggle with this, where do you publish your manuscript? So you go to Jane and you put in your manuscript title, and it will give you a list of 10 to 20 different journals that would be of possible interest to your title, and it will cite the article's influence and the confidence of the suggestion. So coding data, the nice thing about ChatGPT is that it can generate basic descriptive statistics for you if it's quantitative, but it can also do coding for qualitative data as well. Very similar to what Atlas TI is doing at the moment.
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Possible harms. We are open to a few possible harms, like Juliet Stoltenberg spoke about earlier. So we have selection bias, where we're not sure which pool of data that ChatGPT is extracting from. There is cognitive biases where it's not able to distinguish between the right and the wrong or true and false. It's open to gender and diversity or discriminatory bias, as mentioned before. Accessibility, as I've mentioned before, it could be banned. It is banned for various reasons across Africa and across Russia and China and stuff like that. Then you could have academic integrity problems with plagiarism, as we've mentioned before. And ChatGPT is not currently regulated, and this was a concern that was raised by UNESCO in the document that I alluded to earlier. And then there are privacy concerns. In April 2023, Italy became the first country to block ChatGPT due to its privacy-related concerns because of, we don't know, it doesn't ask you for the age, and there could be, the audience could be minors. So how do we stay ahead? This is my own opinion, and based on what the guidelines were given by UNESCO, and that is to encourage the use of ChatGPT to explain concepts, to break down difficult tasks, to, like Daniel said, about using it in literature reviews, because a lot of the time students don't know what a literature review is, and every literature review is going to be different. So it's difficult to explain how to write a literature review. But if ChatGPT can give an outline, that would be very nice and helpful for the students. It can connect the use of ChatGPT to course. If we can connect it to the course learning outcomes, it will help the students understand how ChatGPT can be used to support their learning. Okay, if we can introduce clear guidance, but this is to be in conjunction with student input and staff input, and then both of it doesn't have to be enforced, but it needs to be a conversation that needs to be had. Reviewing all forms of assessment and evaluation. We might want to introduce oral evaluations. I'm not sure, because I know that I did ask a student to do a protocol, and then I shared the section. It was an undergraduate course, and I asked her to do the ethics component. And when I tested her on the ethics components, or just asked about it, she didn't know what I was talking about because she didn't read. So maybe if they know that you're going to have an oral on it, they would pay a bit more attention to it. Idea generation we've spoken about, locating sources using those 3 AI tools or other AI tools we've spoken about. And we need to train staff and students to improve the prompt usage so that they have easier access to information that makes more sense rather than being given junk information. Do I have 1 minute? I just need to read this quote. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it already, but it's written by Reid Hoffman in conjunction with ChatGPT-4 about using technology and its impact on students and graduates.